So we have our application, and what we want to do is we want to make it available to the public. But we don't want to expose it to the public directly because we're going to have a lot of problems. We're going to have governance, we're going to have problems of security, we're going to have so many issues, it's not funny. So we're going to avoid that completely. It doesn't make sense to have it. We are going to be using API Connect to basically shield it within the Cloud Pak for integration so that it is nicely exposed to the world with no drawbacks. So what we're going to do is we're going to expose it as a new API, as a new REST API. And we're going to say from a target service. So we have the link of the service from the actual application running on OpenShift. Just going to give it a nice title. And we're just going to try and make as less mess as possible. Some nice description. Now, this is important because this is about the social part of being a developer. This is about making sure that other people are able to use what you create so that we have a very good, clear sharing of all the assets that have been created. So this is where I go and put the actual URL. Normally this will be internal because we would want to only access internal networks, not external networks. In this case, anyone can really access the external one, so it wouldn't make sense. But for the sake of the actual exercise, we're gonna keep it simple. It's just a URL at the end of the day. We enable the code, so we also enable the security by default. So it's time to go and modify the API itself. And I feel like this is something that could have sped up in post-production. So here we can go and explore a bit more what we can do with the API. Like I said, this is more about explaining to other people, exposing it to other people so that they can go and use it. So of course you probably want to have your name there and your email so that people can know who made it and they can ask you if they need help or anything. You can go and see what security schemes it's using. If you're not happy, you can change the security scheme, add more, remove them if you want to remove them because potentially it's only internal. You are able to see things such as the paths. So if you're happy, you can go and make other paths if you want. You can potentially remove some of the operators. So this is something really nice. For example, if you're not using put and delete, perhaps you want to remove them altogether because those are two less things that you need to protect. If there is no implementation, there's no point for something to exist. So in the gateway is where we can go and play around a bit more, and well, basically we could do some internal transformation before the data reaches the service or before the service data reaches the user again. So we can go and make some changes. We can perhaps go and make some logic decisions beforehand. We could do some mapping, so we can go and simply explore. There's really a lot of things that we can do here. I'm gonna put it online. I'm not enabling the design that I just made just for the sake of it. So here, if you want to test it, so that is the client ID that has already been generated by the system. And here's the new link. So this link will be the one available to the outside world to actually go and see the application or consume the application. So we can run it. Let's go and test it. Let's see what's available just before we test it. And here we have Postman. This is normally how I make my requests. So I use Postman since it's an industry standard. And I'm trying to access the page without the actual security code. And as you can see, I'm getting an invalid 401 and I cannot access it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna modify that. I'm gonna modify my request through Postman. I'm gonna use the actual client ID. I'm gonna send it. And if everything goes well, then that should work. And there you go, there's our lovely quote. So our service is now ready for sales. Let's go and turn it into a product then.